We knew we had a big problem about 2:30 in the morning on December 1st. At that point, we knew we had poles down on three-phase lines, and we knew we were going to need extra help. We called in Croft Electrical Contractors from Missouri. They sent us 8 men right off the bat. In the morning hours, then when we could actually see the damage on December 1st, we knew we were going to need more help. At that point, we contacted Rick Pauley at the AIEC, and he was able to secure some crews from Indiana.
One of the neat things that we have with the Emergency Work Plan is that we have access to calling people out of state for help. All I have to do is just call one person and they start the ball rolling in their state, and then we correspond back and forth, as far as the needs and when, who can come and how soon. The coas that were affected in the worst way are basically laid flat with lots of poles down. I did not hesitate to call help when I realized that the amount of Illinois help available was pretty slim.
We had heavy ice that's completely surrounded the phase and neutral, diameters of up to 1.5 inch, 2-inch diameter. In that case, just the weight of the lines pulls the poles down, or trees get loaded up and fall across the lines. In this case, we lost probably, we're figuring about 300 to 500 poles damaged and destroyed.
We ended up with 35 additional men to help us restore power to our members. Right now we're projecting pole loss of about 200, and the longest anybody was out of service during the 2006 ice storm was 1 week, compared to almost 2 weeks in 1978. One of the interesting things that we noticed was after we were restoring power, we would have lines kick out, and what was happening was the ice on the neutral, which is the bottom wire, would melt off, and then because of the tension it would slide up or actually jump up and make contact with one of the phase wires, and that would cause another outage. So we had frustration among some of our members. You would just get them back in power, and then an hour or 2 hours later they would go out again, and oftentimes it was because of this phenomenon when the ice would melt out and the wires would come in contact with each other. So that was frustrating.
I'm quite comfortable to know that there are other cooperatives available to come and help my cooperative put things back, fix things. During the 5-day period, I began to worry about that. Can these guys handle it? Surely they don't have the crews every day to handle an emergency like that. To know that they got the other cooperatives helping out, and know that they're available, and know that they have people like the guys from Joe Carroll, just kind of gives me a good feeling.
Well, I think the safety and training aspects at the statewide is one of the most important things that has to be instilled in the linemen before the storm hits. Each day, our line superintendents had a safety briefing with all the crews that were here as they were eating breakfast, to let them know, to remind them that safety comes first, that they use the hold tags, that they make sure that they use their grounds properly, that you're working within sight of grounds on either side, because we found an awful lot of generators running in this storm, and we found some that weren't hooked up right. So there is always the extra danger of our members out there taking matters into their own hands to try to get themselves back on temporarily, and we want to make sure that we don't get someone injured because of that. The safety aspect of it has to come first, which means we have to constantly preach safety to all of our personnel, inside and outside.
You're torn between wanting to get the power on as quickly as possible and also making sure that the men get a proper amount of sleep and they follow safety procedures. I think we did accomplish that. We tried to set up a rotation where the men could at least get 6 to 7 hours of sleep at a period. We didn't want them to get wore down to the point where they were ineffective. And let's face it, from 10 o'clock at night to about 5 in the morning, when it's single digits outside and pitch black, you don't get a lot of work done. You're better off to have your men home resting, getting a little sleep, so that when daylight comes at 6 o'clock, you can get out there and get some stuff done. You can get 10 times more work done in daylight than not.
I was very pleased to see how all of our employees reacted. They didn't hesitate to jump in and help. They stayed the extra hours they were here in the mornings, and everybody contributed above and beyond without being asked to. The outside employees we got, once they got here and engaged, I couldn't ask more of them either. I didn't have a single incident with any of the other crews where there were problems between the crews or communications or someone not putting in the amount of effort that we expect. And that's why I go back to the fact that we always ask for co-op people first. You know, it's my belief that that's the kind of effort you only get out of co-op employees. I don't think a contractor or possibly even an investor-owned employee would have given that kind of dedication to the job.
I think it definitely pays dividends to put money into plant, especially making sure that you change out bad conductor, bad poles, and you also want to have a good tree trimming program. Obviously, we don't have as many trees on our system as some systems have, but you'll be surprised. Even though we have prairie land out here, trees seem to find their way into the right-of-way underneath power lines. You need to spend money on tree trimming, and I think it's evidenced by our ability to get our members back on in a relatively short period of time, especially compared to the investor-owned utilities in the area.
This has opened our eyes to the need for more help to run the plan, and we are going to try to get the input from the managers at their January meeting and try to say, we're aware of some weaknesses. We have some things that need attention, and we'll be stronger for this experience and can offer better service to our co-ops in the future.